Hello there, I'm Dominic St-Pierre, and you're listening to Go Podcast. Today we are going to talk about Go build and the LDFLAGS parameter. Hello, Gophers! Episode 9. And from what I heard, podcasters that reach episode 10 are less likely to cancel their show, so we are almost there. Hopefully we will continue after 10. But yeah, that's joke aside. Go 1.19 has been released. If you haven't checked it, I would recommend looking at it. The Go Time podcast did a good episode on that. So if you want to know what's going on with this version, and you have 1 hour of your time, I would suggest listening to it. Other than that, if you haven't checked generic, so my mind is currently expanding or opening towards generics in Go. At first, I did not really use them. I was not seeing much places for me to use them, but a pertinent aspect of something I was writing, in fact, in StaticBackend, which is my open source Firebase alternative. I had to write a memory database provider, and generics really helped me reduce the amount of code. It's crazy. I will do an episode only on that, to be frank, because it was it's something. So yeah, generic are good when used at the right place, I guess. And lastly, before we begin, if you don't know ASDF, the tool to install other languages and frameworks and whatnot, you might want to check it out. So I was wondering, how people are currently installing the Go binary, and even though Go is backward compatible, it's still fairly safe to just have one install. I have so many languages on my dev machine that are not like Go. So, for example, things like Ruby, for example. So, and Elixir is another one. I just found it really easy to install my languages via ASDF these days, and you can have multiple versions of each languages and whatnot. So yeah, if you don't know this tool, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It really helps. So today I want to talk a little bit about what the Go tooling give you when compiling your binary. So let me rephrase that better, I guess. So as I was saying, I was working on StaticBackend. I was creating a GitHub issue actually, and I created a template on GitHub that asked people that were creating GitHub issues to run StaticBackend-v to get the version. But I wrote that template way before implementing this feature. So myself, while opening this GitHub issue, I stumbled upon the fact that, this flag does not exist. So what I wanted to do was to have, helpful information on the -v, not just the version. Helpful information to debug exactly the exact version that someone that reports a bug would have. So to do that, I used the LDFLAGS parameter when using the go build command. So this LDFLAGS, you can use that on multiple commands like install as well and build and whatnot. So there's a -x that allows you to set variable on your code base at compile time. So what it gives you is a way to grab contextual information at the build time without having to maintain any kind of configuration file or hard-coded data that needs to be changed. So let's take an example, a concrete example. I wanted to print out the build date, the current version, and also the current commit hash, the GitHub commit hash that were present at the time of, at the build time. So what you can do to have that is, like I was saying, if you were to create 3 variables to hold this data, 3 string variables in your Go application somewhere, it can be anywhere. We will talk about that. So imagine you only have a main.Go file, for example. Let's say we have a simple CLI program and there's only one main.Go. So you would have those 3 variables at the top: build time, commit hash, and version, for example. And you want those to be populated when you are building your application. So you could use the -LDFLAGS and pass the -x parameter. You can see the code in the description of the podcast if you have that. But you can also just search on your search engine LDFLAGS with the -x. But you want to inject those value automatically for you. So that liberates everyone from having to think about what needs to be changed before a build. So the build time is fairly easy. We can use the date command at the command line. For the version, there's a describe function with Git that when passed, the -- tags will give you the last tag that is used. And for the commit hash, there's also a way to grab the last commit. So from there, at each build, those value will be set on your main.Go. And if you implement a simple flags with the -v, for example, that this is what I did, you can print out those variable, and they will have those value automatically set for you. So this is extremely helpful for library creator, or more specifically, people that creates CLI application or any kind of application to exactly get what the current user that is reporting a bug is using as its commit. So it's very easy to return to the code, check out this exact commit, and try to, maybe even run the test or try to reproduce what they are having on production with that specific version. So it's extremely nice to have this feature. So before discovering that, I was using mainly a JSON file to hold a couple of information that I wanted my binary to have at runtime. But like I was saying, those are extremely difficult to maintain, because there is always this there's always someone that keeps forgetting to update any kind of number. You could use sed and do some auto incrementation in there, and file manipulation also at the build time. But yeah, it's still not as clean, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm using a makefile as well. So if you're not using makefile, this is probably the simplest build tool out there, I would say, especially for Go. I mean, it's just simple. It can be complicated sometimes, because the the syntax in there is a little bit old for, you know, when you're starting to do more complicated stuff. But it's still a tool today that gains to be known, I would say. But yeah, I'm using a makefile, so it's very easy for me to expand the go build command with this -LDFLAGS, and yeah, this is going to be helpful, very helpful on the GitHub issues that people will open, hopefully. And yeah, in my case, I already add a config package where a configuration is currently being loaded from environment variables, and this config is used all over the place to access, you know, important configurable variable. So I just added an info.go file in there with those 3 variables, and I'm using the fully qualifying package name on the LDFLAGS.x. So for example, github.com/staticbackenhq/core/config dot and the name of the variable that I'm using. So that's really that simple to do that. So I built this this application without this config file, this config package at first, and since I've introduced it, things, the code started to clean itself up a little bit, I would say. Before, I was having a lot of, you know, os.getEnv everywhere, and it's certainly not a good way to do that. Yeah, you know, sometimes it's not terrible, and people, when I remember at first, I've launched StaticBackend probably near 2019, something like that, and admittedly the code was not very clean at first. And I remember when I posted on Reddit, that was you know, I received one comment that were saying, oh well, you are using you know, fmt.Error, for example, or things like that, and it did not really bother, because at the time, the first, it's so quick to do refactoring in Go, and today the project has passed 10,000 line of Go, and I think it's starting to, well, I am biased, obviously, but it's starting to look something that, in my opinion, is not bad, you know, compared to the 2019. I think the code is starting to be clean, and this, you know, this huge usage of the LDFLAGS really make things a little bit nicer, and hopefully it will help a couple of people out there that were not knowing about that. I was not really knowing, and you know, just after creating my GitHub issues, I was like, wow, what's the best way to inject data at compile time? So of course Go has this new way of bundling files in directly in the binary now. Well, now it's out there since a couple of versions. I think it was 1.17 or something like that. So you are able now to take flat files, if you will, and then package them into your binary and use them at runtime. So that's a valid option for lots of things. But the issue with having those information in a flat file is like, yeah, there will be some people that will forget to update those, and if you are to build automation to keep those files up to date, well, you will end up writing a lot of code, I think, for not much. But yeah, it depends. It always depends. And yeah, that's mostly it for today. All right, that's it for this week. I hope you liked the episode. And again, if you can share and talk about the podcast, that would be extremely appreciated. Also, if you want to check my book out, I have a course named Build SaaS App in Go. So it's at buildsasappingo.com. All right, see you in 2 weeks. Bye.